Breaking Cycles. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share, all that.
Facts. I'm going to tag the page right here. Mental Health Mondays with
Naja.
Yep, from Breaking Cycles. Let's go.
I think that I did that. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Breaking Cycles. Today we are here with Mr. Mental Health Monday himself, Charles. He is a graduate from DSU, Delaware State University, with a bachelor's in psychology, and he's a mental health enthusiast. So I thought, why not have him on the show to talk about mental health and to talk about being a Black man growing up in America. First of all, where are you from, and what exactly brought you to psychology and mental health?
So I'm originally from a small country town called Laurel, Delaware. It's in Sussex County. Born and raised there all of my life up until 18. How many siblings do I have?
A lot of them.
I have quite a few siblings. I have 2 sisters and 3 brothers, a lot of nieces and nephews, a lot of cousins and whatnot. But, that's where I'm from. How I got into psychology, I always think it's I don't want to say ironic story or like a coincidental story, but I know like growing up, everybody was asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? That type of deal. And everybody's like lawyer, doctor, teacher. And I didn't want to be any of that. I didn't know what I wanted to be. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think I had like an idea of what I wanted to be on my mind because of my environment. Okay. Like we weren't really thinking about careers where I'm from. The neighborhood I grew up in, it was like a cycle. So, you come in living in the hood, you leave out of high school, go back to the hood. There was like no really anybody from my neighborhood that was going to school anywhere. Like people wasn't even finishing high school where I'm from, for the most part. And if they did finish high school, not knocking it at all, but the first they went as far as college is concerned was Del Tech. And a lot of people, even then from what I knew of, didn't even complete Del Tech. College just wasn't, it wasn't a thing.
It wasn't something that was fun.
Exactly. It wasn't like, oh, everybody that comes from this neighborhood graduates out of high school and then go to college. That wasn't the thing. Okay. And so most of what I saw growing up in my neighborhood was a lot of course, like drug dealing, dropping out, a whole lot of kids, teenage pregnancies and so forth and so on. So naturally, I'm just thinking like, this is what life is. You know what I mean? So I wasn't thinking about career in and of itself, but I did have a very hardworking mother who I think along the way, she kind of knew that that's just not what something she wanted for her children. So she started to speak to us a little bit more about, what we're going to do with our future and whatnot. So at some point along the way, she was like, you're getting out of my house, you're going to school. And I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to school for. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. All I knew at the very basic level was that I wanted to help people. Okay. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know where that would lead me. I just knew I wanted to help people. I got involved in like Boys and Girls Club and whatnot. I kind of like started doing like summer club counseling and stuff like that. Like, like summer club counseling is pretty much mentorship. You mentor kids that are younger than you. You go on field trips with them. Gotcha. You help out the staff members and stuff like that. So that's kind of how, it led me into what I wanted to do at school, because I was told that psychology was like a more general degree. You can do more with it and whatnot. For sure. Learning more about people, the mind, how it functions and whatnot. So I was interested in that. I didn't know it was going to lead me to counseling. My life's goal at this point, and what I've kind of derailed to, is that I just wanted to be what I felt like I needed when I was a kid. So that's what kind of led me to counseling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good backstory. I know you mentioned you're from like a country type hood, which is a very interesting background, because I'm also from the hood, and this whole show is about people who come from ghetto communities.
Right.
So as a Black boy growing up, I know you saw a lot of people who really didn't, I guess, necessarily inspire you to be where you are now. But what was it like seeing that? I'm getting the impression that you really didn't fit in with that sort of lifestyle. Like, how was that for you? Did you feel like you had to isolate yourself, or were you, bad and then you turned good? Like, how was that experience for you growing up?
I was a horrible kid. Okay. I was horrible. From growing up in an environment like that, you have to know how to defend yourself. You got to know how to fight.
Absolutely.
If you don't know how to fight, you're going to live a lot of long days. I mean, growing up in that environment, it's kind of like, now the terminology is conditioned, right?
Yeah.
You learn how to be who you need to be to survive where you're from. You know what I mean? So I spent plenty of nights having to, like my whole family, we spent plenty of nights having to sleep on the floor because of gun shootings. Fighting was like entertainment to us at that point. Like we used to sneak into my oldest brother's bedroom was like facing the main part of the development.
Okay.
And just so happened that we lived in the area where everybody seemed like they wanted to fight at. So we used to run to his room when we knew somebody was fighting outside because our mom wouldn't let us go out there while she knew somebody was fighting. So we used to just go to his bedroom, look in his window, and watch people outside fight. And it was like entertainment. And fights were happening multiple times a day. Adults, kids, it didn't matter. And so, it's just when I was a kid, I think just because we were in that environment and ultimately because my mother has a high school education, didn't go to college, which ultimately she wasn't able to earn wages that would afford her to be able to live outside of that type of environment. It's not necessarily what she wanted, for her family, but it was circumstances at the end of the day. Yeah. And so I think quite naturally we just kind of conformed to our environment. My siblings and I, we ran thick. My family, we just ran very thick and we defended each other down to tooth and nail. So, coming up in it, you quite naturally would be what people consider to be bad. Okay. But on the other side of it, it wasn't necessarily being bad, it was just surviving. Yeah. But then we didn't know how to separate that from the neighborhood to school. So that carried over into school, getting kicked out of school, getting suspensions and detentions and skipping school, fighting in school, disrespecting teachers, hitting other kids, fighting other kids just because you thought this was the way of life. And so I had a lot of those different types of situations. I never forget in middle school, I had been in trouble in school for years at that point.
But you was a savage.
Yeah, by the time I got to middle school, my mom was just over it. She was like, bro, something got to give. I would never forget, my mom made me, so in the hood that we lived in or whatever the case may be, the floors were like, it was kind of like cement for real. It was cold because it was cement. And so like the whole house you could turn the heat on 90, but the floor still be cold because like it's just the cement. It's the foundation. And so we, in my mom's room, like the cement was exposed or whatever the case may be. So when I got in trouble this time, she made me like sleep on the floor on the cold cement.
Good, Mom.
And then the next day we had to go, she made me visit one of her foster parents, which was this lady. It was mean, bro. I was like, I'm never getting in trouble again because that lady was crazy mean.
Good.
But that's pretty much, as a kid, what I was doing and whatnot. And then I got into high school and I was just like, I had a lot of influence. Gotcha. And so I knew I had a gift of gab and I had a lot of influence. So at that point, I didn't have to fight no more. Like my cousins was like, yo, if you got a problem, let me know and I got you. You know what I'm saying? And so I had a lot of influence in high school. A lot of people were liking to me. I was popular for the most part. And I was in probably like chorus class. I ended up taking chorus. My mom forced me to that too. I took chorus. I was disrespecting the chorus teacher, called her by her first name. And at that point, I was a freshman. My sister was in class with me because it was her senior year. And she was like, CJ, Mom is teaching in the school today because my mom was a full-time substitute at one point. She was like, Mom, teaching in school today. And I was big and bad. I was like, I don't care. Man, my mom came to that class. She tried to embarrass me. And I just still act like I didn't care. And then I ended up going to the guidance office, and the guidance counselor, she had said to me, she was like, do you realize how much influence you have? She was like, you're too busy spending too much time influencing people and encouraging people to go into the wrong direction. Imagine if you influence people to go into a positive direction. You know what I'm saying? That hit home for me. And I think that was from that day forward. In my sophomore year, when she said that to me, I was like, all right, cool. Let me fix some things up. So I started just trying to change things, little things one by one. Of course, you don't turn perfect overnight, but just trying to make an effort towards doing things differently, going to class more, doing work in class, actually staying awake in class, doing my work, turning it in, trying to, stay after class with teachers. And so the turnaround for me was those words, that her name is Miss Sessions, I call her my mom. And she spoke the words to me, and that really changed my life.
And it's really crazy how that one teacher who saw, the potential in you had that idea to even speak to you. Because there's a lot of teachers who will see the potential in the kid and be like, if only that kid did that. But because she took the time to speak to you, that deterred your life to a more positive direction. And
Absolutely.
That's really how this whole journey of life works. You meet one person who sees something in you, who can enlighten you to be like, I'm better than this. I know I have these resources in me. Let me use them for the good of other people. So that's really dope.
I just want to point out real quick, that's the power in affirmations.
Facts.
When you have somebody who's like constantly, oh, you're hearing, oh, you dumb, you stupid, you just like your dad, you remind me of your dad, X, Y, and Z, oh, nobody wants to deal with you, you get on my nerves, get away from me, you make me sick. When you hear that constantly, especially if anybody's watching this who has children, please pay attention. Like when you speak that to your kid, and it's coming from the person that they believe loves them the most, they're going to equate that as love. And so it's going to hit home harder for them, and they're going to start to believe it. So when they live their life out of these words that you're speaking to them, don't be upset when they go to school and they act a fool. It's because you told them they was a fool. You told them they were dumb and that they were ugly and whatever the case may be. I don't care whose kid it is. Whenever I come into contact with anybody's kids, I'm speaking, like I just was on the FaceTime with my godson driving up here. I'm like, yo, I said to him, I said, I miss you. And I said, you're handsome, man. Just telling the kids, like, you're handsome, you're beautiful. My nieces and nephews tell them that they're beautiful, that they're handsome, that they're smart, that they can do anything, you're intelligent. You got to speak these things to kids because you don't know if they're hearing it or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You never know. And everybody's not getting that at home.
At all.
And we come from these environments where it's not even a conscious thing to say, oh, you crazy, or stop acting stupid, and those type of terms. And we have been conditioned to think that is terms of endearment, and it's really not. And so, you know, all of my friends are now popping out babies, and I always tell them, like, it's really important for y'all to understand what y'all saying in front of these kids from day one. Because they're going to take everything you're saying the same way we grew up and took everything our parents said to heart. And now we're living up to whatever it is that we believe that we are based on what people have told us for our whole lives. So shout out to Charles for that.
I'll tell you what, too, like, for a while, you know, growing up, I was like, dang, how am I going to bounce back from this? You know what I mean? When you create such a story that people remember for like a lot of the wrong reasons, I was trying to figure out how I was going to bounce back, how I'm going to bounce back, how I'm going to change this narrative. And what I learned was, though I wasn't comfortable with a lot of things that I did when I was younger, as I got older and I started to mature and I started to grow and, you know, sacrifice certain things, let certain things go, learn new ways of doing certain things, whatever the case may be, and really submit myself to a process of developing to who I knew I wanted to be, the story of who I was more impactful. Because people are like, all right, cool. I know him. I remember him. I remember my experiences with him. Oh, he speaks like this now. Oh, he's doing that now. Oh, he has access to that. Oh, these are his resources. How did he get there? You know what I'm saying? People are inquiring more. And even in my old neighborhood, it's kind of like they put folks like me on a pedestal. And I tell people, you know what I'm saying? Don't admire me, the person. Admire the moves that I made. You know what I mean? Because you can learn much more from the moves made than you can from the person. Because at the end of the day, this person is going to expire. But the moves are still going to be there. You get what I'm saying? You don't have to go to college. I just want you to feel like you can do better. I feel like I want you to know that you can work on your person without even having to go to a classroom. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can grow as an individual, but never stepping a foot in a college classroom. Period.
Absolutely.
And so, you know.
And it's so many resources out there that we overlook because we assume that because we come from the hood and because we come from no money and because we, you know, come from parents who may have these issues that there's no way out. A lot of people use the phrase or refer to the phrase by any means necessary to obtain money, accolades, or excel in their careers. What does that phrase mean to you, and do you live by it? Why or why not?
I'll preface it this way. I think that the term by any means necessary is definitely like a conditioned term. Our community has grown. It has developed in many different ways. I believe we've like soared different heights and so forth and so on. But in a lot of different ways, it's still one and the same. And I think that that term was birthed out of a time where Black people, cultured communities, felt as though or believed that they literally had to do anything and everything in their power in order to be able to make a way out. In order to be able to succeed, whatever that looks like for them, in order to be able to, you know, make it ahead or, you know, get their foot out of a system or out of being controlled or whatever the case may be. I think it was birthed out of that particular frame, but I think it's been misinterpreted. I think that its original intent was to talk about a grind. I think its original intent was to talk about doing something to benefit your community, to set something in place for your community to succeed far beyond you. I think it was, you know, created as an inspiration rather than a detriment, or rather than something to justify you staying in a cycle. But I think, like I said, I think it's been misinterpreted for people to use for a platform of staying within a cycle, actually continues to go further into a system.
For sure.
And as far as like getting money or selling drugs or doing whatever God do for my family, whatever that term looks like for everybody, I think that the term has been misinterpreted. Do I live by it? I live by it to a certain extent. I live by it to the extent of I'm gonna be a positive male figure for my godsons and my nephews by any means necessary.
Whatever it is that you have to do to move forward the legacy of your family and yourself, you do. Yeah. But not at the extent of, I guess, losing yourself. Because a lot of people, for example, like Steve Harvey in this whole, I don't know if you know about the Steve Harvey Monique situation, where he basically, Monique is, shout out to Monique, she's like one of the realest people in the game as far as the industry. And he basically was telling her, like, you got to get hit with the money game. And it's like, she's saying, no, like, I'm going to keep it a bean, whether it means I'm going to lose money or gain money. Like, people have used that term to, basically sacrifice themselves and sacrifice, humility and perseverance of like human, like empathy and things like that. And I think that term, it really applies to if you're looking at it from the bigger picture of the world and the bigger picture of our culture and community and not just self. And you can always see, how well a person's life was lived based on at their funeral, what the conversations are about them. Legit. So you did all of that by any means necessary to leave what behind?
Right. First thing first, I'll say this. I think that everybody has their own definition of success.
Facts.
I might think that success to me financially is $1 million and having trust funds for my kids that are going to live far beyond their 25-year age when they finally get it, right? And then somebody else might think that success is $50 million, 3 homes in 3 different states, another country, 10 cars, and then somebody else might be feeling like their success is getting a doctorate degree, earning $75,000 a year, working in the community, doing community work. That's success to them. Being a social worker, whatever the case may be. Like, everybody has their own definition of success. Becoming a teacher, becoming a director of a program, whatever the case may be, a professional dancer, having a school, whatever. Like, everybody's definition of success is going to be different. So I'll say that first. Secondly, when I think about the future, I always tell people, like, you can create your future with what you think and what you do.
Absolutely.
And what you speak as well.
Absolutely.
You literally can create your future. If I truly believe that at some point in time in life, I'm going to be a world-renowned mental health enthusiast, philanthropist with schools, being a speaker, a teacher, a writer, traveling the world just like teaching seminars and workshops. If I truly believe that, that I'm going to be, at some point in time in my life, I'm going to be a minister, whatever the case may be. If I truly believe that, if I speak it, if I believe it, and if I really, based off what I'm doing, working towards, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. If you look at anybody who is rich and famous, they all have said this. What you believe, practicing what you preach, and what you think and what you believe is what will set you to whatever it is that you want to be. And a lot of us are speaking these things like poverty out of our mouths 24/7. Like, I'm trying to do this now where it's like, when I notice that I'm complaining, like, I'll be like, oh, but I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining, and I don't, and then I try to reroute what I'm saying, because it's like, we're so used to complaining about the conditions that we're in, and we're doing nothing about it to change it. And then we expect, I don't know, like, we just have this expectation, like, life is just going to change if we get money.
How about the fact that we contribute to our conditions a lot? Like, we legitimately contribute to our conditions.
Bruh, like, we're the reason why we're still in that state of mind of oppression, because like, people I encountered, oh, it is what it is. That's how things are. Like, how you supposed to do that? I ain't got this. I can only do this once I get this. It's like, you're already setting limitations on yourself without saying, like, I'm broke right now, but I know for a fact, like, I'm gonna get this new camera. I know for a fact I'm gonna do, like, if you have that mentality and you really truly believe it, it's gonna come to you some way, somehow. Like, manifestation is real. The laws of attraction is real.
Sure.
That's the power of the thought process. Like, everything starts in the mind. Like,
the thought.
Everything.
the thought. You like, your life is literally not, I say this to my clients all the time. I'm a therapist, by the way, full time. But
go see a therapist.
Absolutely, please do yourself a favor. But I say this to my clients all the time. Your life is a manifestation of your thoughts.
Oh my gosh. We're going to put that down the bottom of the screen. I don't know how this thing works, but your life is a manifestation of your thoughts. And that's facts.
Absolutely. If you have a negative undertone in your thought process, the narrative of your life is going to be negative. Always. If you have a positive undertone of your thought processing, then the narrative of your life is going to come from a more positive aspect. And you literally live out of what you think.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Before you can develop a belief, you have to have a thought.
Yep.
And so if you constantly, if you think I'm gonna be successful, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna be first generation this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna get my family out of the hood. If you really rehearse this in your mind every single day, and it becomes your mantra.
Yep. And it becomes a part of your actions too.
Absolutely.
So it's like everything you do is like pushing towards that thought. Yeah. Like, I know, okay, I want to go to school. Let me go into FAFSA. Let me make sure I fill out this paperwork. Okay, I want to go to school. Okay, let me make sure I call to the school. Let me go visit the school. If you're going to start doing those things that go along with that thought process, and then before you know it, you're registered for school. And before you know it, you done graduated school. And before you know it, time to pass, and you done got 10 degrees. So it's like, it's not an easy process. And the problem is that we're talking about this stuff, and I know it sounds like we're talking about it as if it's easy, as if shit's not going to come and just throw you off track. Yeah. But the thing about it is, even when you fall off, if you literally try and believe, it don't matter if you try it 1 time, 2 times, 17 times, you will get that end result of that goal that you set out to do. This was an important question to me to ask you, like, did you have any Black male role models growing up from the city, country, hood that you come from? Because I feel like a lot of the times the Black youth that I've seen are kind of in this cycle because they don't have anything else to look at as an example of a successful Black man. Success in the hood is like a drug dealer with a nice car and all the baddies in the city. So that's what they grow up to aspire to be. And it's like, did you have somebody who like made you see something different?
If I speak from the perspective of Charles as a 10-year-old, I would say no. Okay. But hindsight is 20/20. Okay. So today, looking back, absolutely. I grew up without my father, absent, right? My father was in and out of jail, addicted to drugs, always caught up in different forms of crime and so forth and so on. So I grew up without my father. But as I age and as I reflect on life, my father taught me a very valuable gift. Because of his absence, I learned the value of presence. And so that in and of itself was probably the greatest gift that my father could teach me. And, I had a chip on my shoulder when when my father and I started to rebuild our relationship. And I was like, we can be friends, but you can't be my father. There's nothing you can teach me at this point. But I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? I'm 27. And the more that my father and I talk, I learned his way of doing things. And one of the greatest lessons that my pops is teaching me right now is how to be a minimalist. A lot of stuff that we think we need, we don't. And how much you can save money. My father is a car detailer. He just details the cars, wash the cars. And when I mean to tell you, you would think that he had like 3 degrees and that he was getting paid like $75 an hour because he has money out of the, you know what I'm saying? He knows how to, he has what he needs, and that's it. He's not splurging outside of that, whatever the case may be. And I never went for anything financially. So I would say that was, those are 2 of the greatest lessons that my father taught me. My stepfather wasn't the greatest example on how to be in relationship with another person. Wasn't the greatest example there, but he taught me work ethic. He would leave before the sun was up and come back at night for dinner time, but he always provided. You know what I mean? He always used to talk to us about work. You got to get a work ethic. I was freaking walking around town with my cousins at like age 11, cutting grass in the summertime to get money, raking leaves in the fall time to get money, shoveling snow in the wintertime to get money. So he taught us that work ethic, regardless of his relationship with my mom as a parental figure. He taught work ethic. So I would say him. I would say, my high school track coach, Coach Gary Cannon. He probably taught me this lesson that I can't shake whatsoever, and it applies to every facet in life. I started running track. He actually started talking to me more when I was in middle school, trying to get me to come out and play sports, but I never did it. And so I got into high school. He ended up being my track coach in high school. When I started out running track, I was trash, but eventually I got really good because his coaching was impeccable. He's an ex-vet, so he taught us from a very militant, type of style. He was a hard coach. A lot of people couldn't stand him, but his lessons in the undertone were incomparable. And so he taught me this one lesson. He used to always say, when you get tired, you got to shift into another gear. You got to shift into another gear. So every single day when I'm getting tired, or when I come into a moment where I'm working on a project and I feel exhausted, all I hear is his voice, like, shift into another gear, buddy. Come on, CJ, shift into another gear. And because what he was teaching us was, like, even when you're tired, when you're exhausted, when you feel like you can't do anymore, there's another gear you can dig into that can get you to that next leg and push you over that finish line. And then my basketball coach, Coach Sly, I was horrible at basketball as well. I promise y'all, I only played sports just
I was gonna say, you probably shouldn't have played sports.
No, just to stay active. But my basketball coach, I came out for the team my freshman year, got cut. I was hurt. So I went back actually, and I wanted to be around the team anyway because I was a studier. I always observe people, and I observe how people do things and how to become successful in things. So my thing was, okay, cool, I got cut from the team. I'm not going to be able to play on the team, but I'm going to go back and see if I can be the manager. Because if I'm the manager, I can be at the practices. If I'm at the practices, I can pick up on these skills that these people are doing so that way I can go home and practice them, and then I can become a good basketball player. So this whole thing set up in my mind. Went back to become the manager of the team, ended up being the manager of the team. Probably 3 weeks into me being manager, he offered me a spot on the team. And so I was able to practice with the team, whatever the case may be. And I think in my senior year, he gave me a varsity letter for the most improved. And so he taught me, he taught me persistence.
That's what's up.
The power of persistence. Those are my greatest lessons in life. The power of persistence, shifting into another gear, absence. Absence taught me the power of presence. And then, a crazy heavy work ethic are some of the greatest lessons that I got in life from Black men,
Cool. That's so dope.
And I want to speak to the individuals who have had absent fathers and who have probably still current broken relationships with their fathers. Let me say this. I used to be pissed with my dad. Like, bro, like, how you gonna
leave me?
You knocked my mom's up and then you did. Like, how do you do that? Like, I'm a whole responsibility. Like,
I'm a whole human. Like, raise me.
How you gonna, I got your name, bro. Like, come on.
You guys say,
I got your name. So I'm like, used to be so, I used to tell myself when I was young, I was like, by the time he get out, I'm gonna be grown, so I'm gonna fight him. I wanted to fight my dad. So I used to be so upset with my dad, but I was just reflecting some time ago as we started to build our relationship, and I was like, dang, I feel like I dodged a bullet because, let me tell you, God is good, because what would my life have been if I would have been raised by a crackhead? You know what I'm saying? Like, if say, for example, if my pops and my mom had joint custody and it was a weekend that I was spent with my pops and he was making a drug move and then boom, he got busted, but I'm with him. What would happen to me then? So you get what I'm saying? Like, I think about that and I'm like, yo, that's a blessing. What I thought was like to my detriment was really to my benefit. And I'm like,
bruh, I know for a fact that had my dad been present, I would be crazier than I already am. But you already know how crazy I am for those who have been watching consistently, but it's definitely how it's supposed to be. Like,
for sure.
And you have to understand that your parents are also individual humans as well. You don't know what the HE double hockey stick they were going through before your little behind got here.
Facts.
When your little behind was a baby.
Facts.
And the fact, if you have a parent, whether it's a mother or a father who is absent, is making the effort at any point in time to reinstate themselves in your life, don't dismiss that because they missed out in the past, because life is short.
Yeah.
You're gonna regret it when their time comes and you don't have an opportunity to even say how you felt. And it's not, forget what they've done and not express it. Talk to them. Tell them, I'm still dealing with pain and all of that. But be open to, accepting and forgiving.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
Check out your mother's relationship with her mother and your father's relationship with his father.
Yes.
You might get some answers.
You just have to, look at everything from an objective point of view and not take everything so personal, because your only thing you should take personal is what's personal to you, not what your parents did, what your boyfriend did, what your cousins did. What you did and what you do moving forward is the only thing that's going to count towards you and your legacy in the future. So, yeah.
All facts.
So, are you religious? Let's just jump right into that. Do you consider yourself a religious being?
This is a really good question. I grew up very religious.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In spite of all of the ratchetness.
Mama, shout out to your mama. She gonna have to get a shout out on this video.
Well, I grew up very, very religious, very traditional. I grew up in the Apostolic Pentecostal Church. There was actually a time frame in my life where my mom used to send us to church before she even started going. I grew up very traditional in religion and the Christian faith. So I'm very acquainted with that lifestyle. I would consider myself to be spiritual, and I believe in the faith of religion.
Okay.
I think that the religion in and of itself, at its purest form, and I'll say it in this way, religion in its purest form are organizations of faith.
Okay.
I think that when they get into the realm of systematics, that's because of people abusing its purpose.
Absolutely.
And so I'm not interested in the systems and in the control of religion, but I'm very much so connected to the faith of religion. Okay. And so I'm still within the Christian faith. Actually, I attend the Pentecostal church in Newark, Victorious Life Church. Shout out to Pastor Shannon and Lady McNeil, right? But they're the realest, man. Like, I promise you, like, I grew up with this, like, I grew up knowing a lot, but yet dumb.
Okay.
Like, you only knew what your pastor told you.
Absolutely.
You know, as I gotten older, I was interested in knowing.
Gotcha.
I wanted to know.
Like, what is what is this about?
I grew up an inquisitive kid. And I think that's probably what ended me up in psychology. I grew up very analytical. I wanted to know why, and I wanted to know the why about the why, and why is the why the why.
Most of the psych majors that I know are the same exact way. All my friends are psych majors, and we're all like, well, why? Yeah. And what exactly, why is that why? And if you're looking at it from this perspective, like what, if you're like that as a kid, you're probably going to end up in some realm of psychology and human behavior.
Yeah. Philosophy, analytical, whatever the case may be. I was always, that person. So when I got older, I wanted to know the whys. And so I actually left church for a little while, just kind of like exploring and whatnot. But something within me, even in my exploration, I was like, I couldn't find the truth. And whatever else I was exploring, I couldn't find the truth. And so I felt disconnected. It was borderline like depersonalization type deal. Okay. And so my friends, they actually ended up going to the church that I attend right now. And they were like, bro, like, come. Like, because they grew up also very traditional and, feeling like they didn't know, whatever the case may be. And I was like, I'm not with it anymore. Like, I'm good. I'm off it. And so they were like, just come 1 week. And if you come 1 week and it's still not connecting with you, all right, bro, we'll leave you alone. We'll let you rock out. I went 1 week. It was like in 2017, I believe it was. And I mean to tell you, I've never met like a Christian pastor who was, one, transparent, who was, two, studied, three, extremely educational, and four, made sure that you understood what he was talking about. Like, my pastor teaches about metaphysics. You get what I'm saying? Like, he teaches about, he teaches about metaphysics. He teaches about what they call natural theology. He teaches about the apologetics. So teaching you the historical foundation of the Bible and why the Bible is true to the Christian believer. And so I when I got there, I'm like, yo, as a psych major, you was turning down like, I'm in. So he really taught me, he really taught me why the Christian believes what they believe and why it's true for the Christian faith. And the only reason why I say that's why it's true for the Christian faith is because you want to be mindful that you don't push your belief on, on other people. Yes, and so one of the most valuable lessons my pastor has taught me is you defend why you believe what you believe. You don't try to make somebody else believe what you believe. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? You just give them the facts on why you're connected to this.
Like, this is why I personally stand for this.
Yeah. And so, I learned a lot of the historical foundations. I learned about like the archetypes and the different, the different scribes and whatnot, which led to, the fundamentals and the foundation of people being able to prove, certain things concerning the Bible and whatnot. And so that's how I ended up at my church. As far as religion is concerned, do I believe in the systematics of it, in the control of it? No. But do I believe in the spiritual faith connection of it? Yeah. Okay. It's an injustice to try to read the Bible sometimes from a literal standpoint. Absolutely. I think a lot of times people fail to realize that the Bible is extremely philosophical and it's borderline poetic. So some things are metaphoric.
Look at all the Proverbs. You have to. And so I think another thing that might, as you were speaking about your brother, I think a lot of things that help other people, including your brother, is when you read the Bible, an important piece that you have to include in it is you have to think about the time and the culture at that time.
when it was written. When you look at a certain text written in 30 AD and another text written in 360 DC, they could be saying the same exact thing, but it's going to have two totally different meanings depending on the culture that it came from and the time that it was written. Absolutely. And so you have to look into those types of things, because then you'll be able to get the true context of what the text is saying. And so, all of those different things matter. They matter. And so, boom, I just say that.
There you have it, people. If you're not a spiritual person, find something to connect to. You gotta believe in something, or else what's the point?
Right.
A very important question to me, because I do have a brother, I do have a father, I have uncles, I have cousins, Black males around me who I feel like have been hurting all of their lives without any real coping mechanisms for change and internal healing. Yeah. So as a Black male, as a mental health enthusiast, and as a psych major, and a person who is spiritually connected, what are some tools that you feel Black men can use to help deal with anxiety, anger, expression of emotions, and effective communication to both women, especially Black women, but also just people in general? Because I feel like there's this thing that's been put on Black men that has to do with so many aspects of slavery, propaganda, the American society that we live in, that pushes Black men to feel like they can't be as expressive as they should be. And as a result, they hold in a lot of things. They harbor a lot of anger, and they, don't really express their feelings in a way that is productive towards like solution-oriented stuff. So if there's any advice or tools that you feel like Black men can use, it would be great to share that
for sure
with the viewers.
I said something to some friends earlier, and I actually ended up posting it on social media. Just because you hide something doesn't mean that it's resolved. And I say that to Black men, the Black community, directly, because a lot of times we equate strength to the things that we don't deal with. If I don't talk about it, then I'm strong. If I don't deal with it, then I'm strong. It's like a conundrum, honestly. Yeah. There's actually more power in admitting than not. You know what I mean? There's more power in recognizing what you experience rather than trying to brush it over or whatever the case may be. It all falls into that lane of like the sweep underneath the rug, type of deal. Like, I'm just gonna, and what happens is, when you try to hide what you're truly experiencing, that works for a very short time frame, a very limited time frame. Because at some point in time, in some shape, way, or form, it's going to show up. It's going to show up. It's going to reflect in your behavior too. Absolutely. If it happened at 6, it's probably going to show up at 26. If it happened at 11, it'll show up at 42. And whether it's in your relationships and how you raise your children, how you communicate, how you handle business, how you treat people, how you treat yourself, how you think about yourself, your views of the world, it always shows up. And so I would say the first thing is the true nature of the strength of a man is what he admits. And more than that, what he admits as far as his weakness. You're not truly strong until you can admit that you have a weakness. And we all have it, and it's okay. You're not truly strong. A lot of times, we find strength in saving face. You know what I'm saying? Putting face on to say, like, if somebody really hurts you, not being fazed by it, not showing that you're fazed by it. That's not strong. I find that to be weak, actually. And it doesn't work because you still feel that when you go to bed at night and when you wake up in the morning. Yeah. And it begins to develop the view and scope of what you live your life out of as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you can acknowledge the weakness, then you have the ability to then say, all right, cool, I need to work on that so that way I can gain strength in that area. But if you continue to try to hide a weakness, it's always going to be a weakness. And it's going to remain the same. Exactly. Absolutely. And it's okay to need help. Absolutely. Everybody needs help. It doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, if you're 65, 22, everybody needs help. Yeah. My advice to Black men who are experiencing any form of anger, anxiety, depression, whatever the case may be okay with admitting it. Be okay, because when you can admit something, that's when you develop the true level of strength. Admitting it, acknowledging it, and then from there, seeking help is extremely important. If you get help today, you'll need less help tomorrow. If you wait till later, you're going to need even more resources and help. And so I would definitely encourage to seek help, get a mentor, a big brother, connect with an elder, go to a therapist, seek counseling, whatever the case may be, get into a small group, whatever it might look like for you. Seek that help and iron sharpens iron. So you got to be connected to other brothers who can give you a different perspective and really challenge you in some areas that you can't challenge yourself in. And ultimately, I would say some healthy coping for anger would definitely be, you have to have I always encourage a balanced diet, working out, getting involved in exercise, because your body begins to produce all of the things that your brain needs to function in healthily. As well as meditation will allow you to be in a more calm and peaceful state of being within your body. You can release stress from that, and release different forms of anger from that as well. So I would definitely say healthy diet, exercise, workout, meditation are like my definitely go-tos.
I just want to say thank you for everybody who's been watching. Thank you so much, Charles, Mr. Mental Health Mondays. Follow him on Instagram. Dope guy with some great content for people like ourselves who have been through some things. We all go through struggles, and I feel like as a community, we have to use our resources within each other to understand that we are all the same in one way, shape, or form. We all need help. We all have our challenges. We all have childhood experiences that we're still healing from. And we all just are trying to do our very best. Your parents who have abandoned you are trying to do their best.
Yeah.
You're trying to do your best. Your future children, your children that you have, they're going to try to do their best. So don't judge anybody. Don't look at this whole mental health thing as like something that's impossible to tackle, because it really just starts with a thought. If you think that you want to do better, you can do better.
Yeah.
If you think that, life can change for you, it will.
Yeah.
But if you stay in the cycle of thinking that it is what it is and there's no way for me to get out of what I've been so accustomed to, then that's how your life will remain. And so we're just having these conversations, the conversations that are often not had in our communities, in our homes. Parents talk to your children, fathers, be present with your children. Mothers continue to make your kids sleep on the cement floor if they acting up in school, because that discipline is necessary for growth and development. But shout out to Charles for coming out. Shout out to everybody watching. Like, share, subscribe, follow on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook. I'm getting better.
Shout out to you. Shout out to you too.
Thank you. I'm doing my best. It's not easy. And I would not be behind this camera or in front of this camera if I had a choice. But we got to get the word out to the people. And it starts at home. That's all we can do. Talk about it. Do something about it. Peace and love.
Take it easy.